Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Perillo, and I am about to upgrade one of my pieces of technology, and it's not really going to be an upgrade. I'm not even sure if I'd say it's a side grade. It's a grade. I'll explain that. I'll break it down for you. Technology is something that we all can't live without, and we sometimes delude ourselves into believing we could live without that technology for an indefinite period of time because we haven't used it. We can't contextualize the value of said technology. You might remember in a day and age before the iPhone or general smartphones as we know them today, people thinking, I don't need a touchscreen device. I can get this physical keyboard on my device. This works just fine. I don't need a touchscreen. And then they use the product and suddenly they realize, oh, that's the value of the feature of the product. That's what I was missing out on. And then they kick themselves for not having gone that direction eons ago. So technology is one of those things where I very often will see something and go, wow, that'd be kind of neat, but I don't know, where would it fit? How would it work? 3D printing, I would put squarely in that category. Now, I was learning about 3D printing before most people were. Bree Pettis ended up doing a presentation at one of the later Gnome Dexes, the decade-long tech event that I produced. And he was showing this new piece of hardware that could print things and push out pieces of plastic. And I thought that was kind of neat, but okay, and how would I use it? I'm not someone who necessarily builds things. I'm not a DIYer. I'm a DI buyer. I didn't really figure out a way for me to accommodate that technology back then, and even up and until a few years ago. Well, 2 years ago, I was given the opportunity to review a Prusa Mini. They sent me the Prusa Mini that is actually working right now. I don't know if you can hear it moving in the background, how well the mic is picking that up, or maybe it's a great mic and you can't hear it, even though it's sitting right here on my desk. So they sent the Mini for me to put together, to use, to talk about, and they really didn't have too many restrictions. And even then, I was interested, but not really confident that the technology would find a place in my life. Because there's only so much tech you can use, and I know you're thinking, no, give me all the tech. No. How much tech do you have just lying around doing nothing, collecting dust? I can tell you this. The Prusa Mini, this 3D printer, the first 3D printer I have that's still working very well, it does not collect dust. Well, maybe in bits and parts that don't necessarily see much friction, but I'm using it and have used it near every day since getting it almost 2 years ago. And I would say I got to be careful if I say life changer. I will say that it has allowed me to do things I never thought I would do, and to make things that I would have wanted to have, not realizing I had that power. And I don't mean I'm powerful for having a 3D printer. I'm just saying my cautiousness kept me from adopting that technology that ended up transforming my day-to-day experience in existing on this planet. So I had been asking questions, talking to people, asking, well, if I wanted to get started with 3D printing, this is before I was sent the review unit, what one would I get? Because I thought in my head, right, as opposed to thinking in my belly button, I thought, this has just got to be expensive, and it seems that it's so esoteric. It doesn't look like a polished product. These 3D printers that are out there just don't look like there's any fit and finish to the actual hardware. So design-wise, I was kind of turned off, and I had thought that they would be terribly expensive. So there are many affordable 3D printers out there, and the ones I was being recommended at that time, again, before... I sounded like Peter Brady there for a second. My voice is cracking. You're seeing me go through puberty live in this video. It's happening. They were affordable. These $100, $200 3D printers, these are the ones that were being recommended. I am so glad that my first 3D printing experience was not in that price range. It would have been affordable, but it also would have been a very expensive lesson, because in many cases, Those types of products are great if you love hardware and you love tinkering and you love tearing things down and rebuilding and you just don't mind hassle. Well, I've reached a point in my life where I don't necessarily want to deal with a lot of that. I do still understand and do need to convey that 3D printing is still squarely within the realm of hobbyists, right? Not necessarily tinkering is required, but you still have to maintain, you have to adjust, you troubleshoot. There's no single solution to every particular problem, many variables up and down the chain. But in that price range, specifically the printers that had been recommended to me, I probably would not have been addicted to this technology because I would have hit a wall. Again, I'm more of a DI buyer, not a DIYer. So, given the opportunity to review a Prusa Mini at a very affordable $350 at the time, even in the $400 range, I took him up on it. I'm like, absolutely, sure. And I had not really known Prusa up until that point as a company, as a community pillar, as someone who contributes to open source, someone, not just Joe, I mean the entire team. And so I didn't realize that this was a good printer. This is a good printer and will continue to be a good printer. It is easily, I would say, number one or close to number one in terms of what I might recommend for anybody who might want to get started with 3D printing. If you're a lot like me and you don't know what's going on and you want a good one, you might you think, well, I'm just going to spend $200. Yeah, but how many of those parts are you're going to upgrade? How much is your time worth when it breaks down? Like, what do you do? And then it doesn't work, and then it just sits there and collects dust. And by the time all is said and done, you've lost time and you've lost money, and you would have spent the same amount as you would have, let's say, and this is just one example, because there are, God, I'm sure, dozens upon dozens of fantastic entry, accessible 3D printers for people who don't really know whether or not 3D printing is for them. I don't have a wealth of experience with a variety of printers. I don't necessarily chase down review units. I don't know if I have the space. Now it's being taken up by everything that I'm 3D printing. But this is just the path that I happen to take, and I'm very grateful for that as an opportunity. I probably have sold vicariously so many Prusa Mini Pluses and just Prusa devices in general. I do have an affiliate link to share, of course, if you're interested in getting one yourself. Ship times were relatively low for the new one I got, and I'm going to get to that part of the story here in just a bit. I was hopeful that I would get hooked, and in going through and assembling the kit that was partially assembled to begin with, that was fun. Not for me. Even with instructions, even with directions, I'm hardware challenged, and I was able to get through it. And in printing the very first model, it was just a bolt and a nut. I was in. I could not believe it. And still to this day, when I 3D print a new model that I might have downloaded or even made, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm now creating my own models for everyone to 3D print. They're mostly Star Wars inspired, available on Printables, where you can join my team. Or on Fangs. Those are the places where I'm currently uploading them. These are all, by the way, generated in Midjourney, all based on a prompt in AI. And then I use HueForge to effectively turn them into models that you can print. They're all flat, by the way. And you could, if you wanted to, print just about every one of these on the Prusa Mini, if you wanted. You'd have to resize them because I don't think the volume would necessarily work for some of the models that I'm using here. The models that I'm showing, I didn't necessarily print on the Mini, but I did 3D print them. I wanted to show you because I don't really do videos on the new models that I do. I just share the new models that I make in social media as I make them just about every week or so. I never thought I would be excited to make. I don't even know if I consider myself a maker. Yes, I print. And yes, I have a 3D printer, and yes, I've created models that I've loved making and love seeing and love sharing and love watching what happens when other people make those models. I don't still know if I consider myself a maker. I use all the tools at my disposal, certainly, but I guess I hold certain individuals who are very, very skilled with CAD, whether it's Tinkercad all the way, through to Blender and beyond. There's ZBrush. There are so many utilities to use to actually craft like three-dimensional models. So I've been on this journey for the past couple of years with my Mini, specifically on my desk, broadcasting it again with live.perillo.com. That's currently a 24/7 feed on Twitch that anybody can join day or night. I love the idea that something can come from nothing, or that I even could put an idea out there, even if I couldn't model it, and someone else might be able to craft it, and then ultimately to have something that didn't exist before that may have come from my head or somebody else's head or other part of their body that does thinking, I guess, the belly button, for the lack of a better body part. So I've had the Prusa Mini, recommended the Prusa Mini, been using it. This is not even a review. I'm horrible at doing reviews, clearly. But the fact that I use it and still continue to use it and recommend it should say everything. That to me is better than any review for a product. But in doing a couple of, at least one specific upgrade, I realized that in replacing the part, it would have been more cost effective for me to get a new Prusa Mini rather than replace the part again and pass my original Prusa Mini Plus, pass that on to one of my brothers he's much more of a maker, much more of a crafter, and I'm going to set him down on the path of 3D printing, and I think he's going to I don't have any expectations, but I think exceed his own expectations with what it is that he's going to be able to do. It's transformative in that way, so don't fear the unknown in this sense. You may be holding yourself back from something that just, it does. It changes your life. I'm going to say it. It does. I mean, I love 3D printing Star Wars figures. This was done on a Mini. This was also done on a Mini. I find models all the time. I'm sharing those prints typically in social on a weekly basis as new models come available for me to print. So I thought I would give you 7 reasons why I'm getting another new 3D printer that's not a downgrade, not really an upgrade. It's more of it's a grade, side grade, really. It's the same unit. The only difference between the new one that I got that just arrived today, that I'm going to be unboxing and assembling on Twitch live.perillo.com, as well as MakerDeck, and I'll come back to that in a second because it's part of the 7 reasons. I got the full black, or it should be full black parts edition versus the one that was sent to me that has the blaze orange, and I love blaze orange. I'm not being flippant either. I think blaze orange is my color. But I just thought I'd get something that blended a little more in the Vader-y environment here, although I've kind of exploded in color thanks to 3D printing. That's really the only difference. So this has had the original one that I had has a lot of wear and tear, but that to me is kind of part of the reasoning, right? This has been a workhorse, and I've used it near daily for coming on 2 years, and it still works so well. I'm not going to say maybe as well as it did out of the box. It's been a while since I've been there, but I would say for the most part, yes. It is a champion. It will continue to operate that way with, again, needing to upgrade parts, change things out, clean things up, do a little more maintenance than I might need. But here's where I am with that 2 years later, knowing that I've used it for 2 years. There are some parts that probably do need an upgrade or a swap. And instead of continuing to upgrade those parts, I thought I would just stay ahead of it. So this is the first reason. I'm staying ahead of it just by getting a new one and passing the old one along. So I'm just starting from scratch. So in my head, I'll probably continue every couple of years or so getting a new Mini and then sending the old one off or giving it away to somebody else. Not that I would need to do that, but yes, maybe there's going to be a new mini, that a new edition, new version of the mini coming down the pike at some point. So I'll upgrade to that, if only to have the latest technology. Who knows what other new 3D printer I might get a hold of? But I'm just trying to stay ahead of having to continue to replace parts piecemeal. It's just easier, not necessarily more cost effective, to get a new one and then pass this one along. I thought that giving the 3D printer as a gift, as much as this was a gift to me, that's the second reason why. I mean, I've gotten so much out of this 3D printer, and my brother hasn't gotten started. I think both my brothers would appreciate 3D printing, but when one of them was visiting, he didn't really seem to be all that interested. The other brother has actually asked me to print parts for him and pieces for him, so I think he's much more inclined to get bitten by the 3D printing bug. Not that I hope he encounters any bugs in 3D printing. But yeah, the second reason is because I can give this as a gift and get somebody else going. And in many ways, some of the people that, weren't into 3D printing until I started talking about it, I now turn to them for guidance and advice, because they've gone so much deeper with 3D printing than I ever possibly could and would want to, quite honestly. I have fun at my level. I have fun doing what it is I do and exploring the way that I'm exploring. Another reason why I'm getting another new 3D printer is because I need to be able to make sure that I've got a backup, if you will. I have two 3D printers right now, not just this one and the one that you can't see, the one that's currently operating. I have another one elsewhere in the house. I could continue to get more, but that's not currently in the plan. Well, when one printer is down for one reason or another, I want to be able to continue to print. And there have been times when I've had some issues with one printer or the other, and I want to print, I want to make. Because every day that goes by where I see a model I want to make and I can't make it, I got to tell you, it's kind of like FOMO. It really is. And I cannot imagine going, more than a week or so without making something new. There's just something about it. And maybe that's the collector in me. I don't think it's the maker in me, because again, I have a problem calling myself a maker, especially compared to people who I think, and I really truly believe are true makers. But I love the size. I love that it fits on the return. I love that it's a part of my space. And so those are compiled a few of the initial reasons. And to dovetail something I had said, apparently you can't have too many 3D printers. Once you start, you can't stop. I've been very, very conservative, as much as I could probably find space or make space for other 3D printers. I'm good with where I am now. I have an idea about what I might want to do next if, certain things evolve, but I don't have anything apart from a hobbyist's attitude. I'm not selling any makes. I'm not, I don't think, I can make a business out of this apart from what we're doing with the MakerDeck effort. And I'll come back to that. Do not worry if you're not already aware of it. But it was something that I knew that if I did not cap what it was that I needed these 3D printers to do, it would explode. So you can't have too many 3D printers, some would say, but I feel that I don't just want to add this one to the mix without getting rid of the other one. So all those are some of the reasons why I'm doing this now, and trading one for the other, or swapping one out for the other, with the benefit of somebody else getting pulled into the ecosystems. The price is still relatively within an affordable range, in my opinion. That's another reason why I'm getting another new printer, although I probably should have picked it up before the prices went up because of inflation. It's still in the affordable range. So I feel like I'm not having to save my pennies up to be able to replace the one that I have. I feel comfortable and confident that I can swap out this, or the original mini with the new mini, and not really feel like I'm losing anything. Because again, coming back to the earlier reason, I'm replacing parts piecemeal, which keeps me down until I get a new part, or I have to replace the part and I have to go through that particular process. But it's still incredibly a reasonable price point, so it makes it a lot easier for me to do the grade, not upgrade, not downgrade, not really even a side grade, just grade, Is that the best word to use there? It is very difficult to imagine a week where I'm not making something new. It is true. And I'm inspired by so many people who are now in my orbit, and vice versa, who are making things that either they've designed the models themselves, or they're making things that I also want to make, and finding my way and my place in that greater community of people who love 3D printing is what drove me to kick off a Twitch channel that's also 24/7, MakerDeck. That's the username over on Twitch, and it's MakerDeck on Twitch 24/7. And the idea there is that anybody can join day or night, and you could make something. And more often than not, people are adding their 3D printer cameras. There are so many different types of printers, so many different types of models to be made, so many people to meet, that I'm very grateful that people have latched on to the idea of MakerDeck, and it's made so many relationships happen that otherwise would not have happened. So I'm grateful that the idea resonated for MakerDeck. This has created a few things. One, a good way of connecting with other people. Two, community support that I didn't have in the beginning when I was starting my journey. So it's nice to be able to have that as a foundation, to be able to pass people along to. If you're beginning your journey with 3D printing, you don't know where to begin, I immediately pass people on to MakerDeck. I'm like, go to MakerDeck, go there, because those are the people who are hanging out and love talking about 3D printing 24/7. For the most part, MakerDeck is 3D printing 24/7. We do have people doing art at times. I've done Lego builds there. Other people have as well. But for the most part, it knows its audience. It knows that foundation, that community, and it works. So I'm very, very grateful for every one of the people who has made MakerDeck possible to continue to do. And I'm going to be very hesitant to name names, because inevitably I will leave somebody out. And when you do that, then there's hurt feelings, and I don't want to do that. There are people who have volunteered time, volunteered resources, volunteered attention, and because of that, it still continues to work. And it's something that I'm proud of doing, and I know the people that have helped, be a part of it over time also are proud of what it has been, if only because so many different people have participated, if only because so many people see the value of coming together in a way that hadn't really been done the same way before. There were 3D printing Twitch channels live, that's easy to do, but bringing up to 10 people together in one screen has been it's been a unique experience, and it's certainly been an interesting project and an interesting experiment. But I'm very grateful that it has happened, and I'm also very grateful that StreamYard saw that value too. StreamYard came aboard as a sponsor for my Twitch channel as well as MakerDeck, for the unique ways that we were using it as a platform to bring multiple people together to do something different than their typical use case, which is typically what I do with a product. I use it in a way that it was not really designed to be used. Can't say that about 3D printing. I pretty much just, print and leave it be. But for the most part, I feel that StreamYard was critical to have something like MakerDeck work. So for everybody that has helped with it, that has joined, that has supported, it's as much a part of my 3D printing journey as anything else. I personally can't talk 3D printing 24/7. I don't know everything about it. I don't want to know everything about it. I don't want to have every hardware. I think I want all the filament. I'm more of a fan of the different color filaments than possibly the printers, if only because of space. And I've got a slime green trooper and a red Vader, but I need all the other colors too. I need to swatch all the Star Wars things. So that's what MakerDeck is for. And certainly, if I were to call any name out, it would be Liz, who makes sure things happen and has from day one. Liz had helped with my YouTube efforts a while ago, back when I really had solid YouTube efforts, and she figured out that this was something that was different, interesting. She latched onto it and has helped make magic happen. So without Liz, MakerDeck wouldn't be standing the same way it's standing today. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. So that's pretty much And I try to keep it to 7 reasons, but the 7 reasons are in there, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff in terms of my 3D printing journey. And I will continue to make. I'll continue to build things live on Twitch. Continue to have fun with it, because I mean, if you can't have fun with technology, what's the point? If you can't use the technology, what's the point of owning it? You can't just get a gadget and then just stare at it without using it. That's, well, in my humble opinion, not that much fun. I mean, yes, gadgets can be fun, but you got to use them. That's the thing. And if you've ever kept yourself, if you've been your own impediment to adopting a new technology because you were a little worried about what might happen on the other side, do yourself a favor and try, because you never really know until you challenge yourself and you push yourself through to being able to look past your fears and latch on to something new and potentially change your life. I mean, yes, 3D printing changed my life. It's not really an amazing story of inspiration, but I now have more 3D printed items in my house than I ever thought imaginable. So, I hope that you find your way onto the path of a 3D printing destination at some point. If you haven't already, I may have answers to questions. If you have any questions, I would immediately pass you over to the MakerDeck folks, because they know a heck of a lot more than I do, and that's open 24/7. I'm not. I have to sleep, believe it or not. But I do love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. And may the force be with you, always.